Hey survivors, MakeShift here. I'm a few days back into the real world, and I figured it's about time that we do a little Wasteland weekend debrief. Stick around, because we're going to go over the entire thing, including my troubles on the way, the most amazing event that I've had yet, and just how everything was a little bit different this year. Here we go. We did this ourselves.
They're coming. It can't be.
Where is everyone?
All right, survivors. So let's start right in the beginning, because this was an interesting year for me. Of course, you guys already know the changes. I am no longer head of the video crew, though I am still a arm's length. No, that's not the right word. A periphery. I'm a periphery video crew volunteer. So basically I'm just kind of working on my own, shooting what I want to shoot, which is really nice. And I appreciate the event for giving me that leeway to be able to do that. Of course, Preston Yarger is now leading the crew, and he's doing a hell of a job. I actually just talked to him today, briefly online, just to check in and see how everything went. Sounds like it went really well, although he may be a little overwhelmed, but that's to be expected. It's a lot. And, stepping in after 10 years, he's not stepping into the event that I did back in 2011. Back then, I don't know, what were there, 20 tribes, 700 people? I got to grow with the event, and he's had to step in and deal with this. I don't even know the number this year, 4,000, 5,000. It was a lot. But yeah, he's had to step in to an event where there are lots of official events, plus a ton of tribe-run events, lots of stages, entertainment happening left and right, thousands of amazing costumes, hundreds and hundreds of amazing cars. This isn't what it was when I got started. So, Preston, you've got your work cut out for you, but you're the right man for the job, and I'm excited to see how this reel comes out. And I do know, from talking to him, that the Neotropolis 2024 reel should be coming out really soon, so once that's done, he'll be diving into the Wasteland one, I'm sure. Just so you guys know, the reel takes, it took me 2 weeks of full-time work. So, just kind of with the hours, I never got to spend 2 weeks straight on it. There's always real-world stuff that gets in the way, and it takes a while. Sometimes it took a couple of months. Sometimes it took, almost 6 months. But, it's a lot of work, so be patient. It'll be here, and I'm sure it's going to be absolutely amazing, because I really like the way Preston shoots things. So anyway, I had a lot to prep for this year. There was, first off, I had to do some general maintenance on my car to make sure it could make the trip. That actually went really well. I should have done a touch more maintenance on the trailer, because the trip in went well. I got to stop in Arizona and have lunch with Adam Chilson, who retired from the event a year and a half ago now. But yeah, he's doing good. He actually does want to maybe someday come visit the event again. So hopefully that'll happen, because I'd love to get his perspective on seeing the event and not having to work it much in the same way that I did this year, which was really fun. But yeah, the trip went well. So I started in New Mexico in Albuquerque, got through Arizona just fine with a nice little lunch, and then I stopped for the night, about 2 hours outside of Barstow. And, some of you know this already, but my truck got broken into. They smashed my passenger window and took a few things from the front seat. Not a whole lot. Nothing irreplaceable, and nothing really of any sentimental value. So far, so good. I have insurance. They'll cover that stuff, and they'll definitely cover the window. And so I started making some phone calls that morning, trying to see if anyone had that piece of glass, because it's a Land Rover. No one's got the glass. It's all special order. So they didn't have it. They didn't have it in Vegas. They didn't have it in Barstow. They didn't have it in Needles. I called around, as you can see. But no one had the glass. But who did? Los Angeles. So I taped up that window, and I headed down the road. I was planning on dropping off my camper and going down to LA for a day or two anyway. Just to go hang out with some tribe mates or whatever. But here's the thing. Now I have a car with no window, and I didn't want to just be up at Wasteland, so I had to head down to LA. Luckily, a very good friend took me in, gave me a spot to stay for what turned out to be about a week. I got the glass First off, the glass company missed their appointment and then made me come to them, which was a bit of a pain in the ass, but it all worked out. And of course, I went to the shop to get my insurance stuff taken care of so that they could tell me, oh, this is going to cost this much. But luckily, all I really wanted was the glass, and that happened. So that was good. But here's the thing. When I looked back, I didn't even tell you this part yet. That morning, when I'm heading down to LA, 20 minutes after I started on the road, the trash bag that I had taped to the window was starting to flap around and was breaking off. And I could have kept going, but it was, 95 or 100 degrees. So very hot, but it was also very loud. So I decided to pull over at the next exit and I would retape the window. And I had a better plan than a trash bag because, as I found out, I had a bunch of packing tape. Packing tape's clear and stretches a little and holds tight. So I was going to just replace it. So I pull over. Just so happens this exit had a Starbucks. So I pulled right into that parking lot and I was like, ooh, I'll get my morning coffee. I'll retape this window and I'll keep going. But lo and behold, I opened the door and I smelled some smoke. And it wasn't from all the forest fires that California and Arizona and the entire West Coast is going through. It was from my vehicle. So I started walking around. Engine bay smelled fine. Wheels, fine. I made my way around the camper. Back, left, fine. Whoa, back, right. Lot of smoke. Like a lot of smoke coming out of one of the hubs. And I was like, oh man, I think this is the hub I repaired just a couple years ago. It was. I knew the hub was bad. So I started making some phone calls. I called every trailer company nearby. There was one up the road that was like, hey, you could probably get it to us, just go really slow. Or maybe take off the wheel and go really slow. And then eventually I tracked down these mobile trailer mechanics that came to me within a couple hours. They were freaking heroes. So they show up and he's like, I'm going to take a look at it. They brought the parts to replace the hub if they had to, or to repack the bearings if that's what it needed. But after a few minutes, after he got the wheel off, he called me over and he said, I could already tell. He was shaking his head as I walked over. He said, so it's worse than the hub. And yes, I could replace the hub, but it's not a permanent solution. You need an axle. And I was like, no, you're kidding me. Because when I replaced this hub a few years ago, the same one, it was in Amarillo, Texas. And the guys said, well, it might be the hub, it might be the axle, but the axles are 6 months out, so hopefully it's the hub. Turned out they were like, I think it is the hub. We're going to go ahead and replace that, send you on the way today. Which I was like, yes, that's amazing. Thank you. Now I'm wondering if it should have been the axle, but still, what are you going to do? I couldn't wait 6 months for an axle at that time. So the fact that it got me several trips with that replaced hub, I think is pretty good. But now the guys were like, it needs a new axle. And I was like, oh man, all right, first off, what's it going to cost and how long is it going to take? And they gave me a number and I was like, oh, that's actually not that bad. And then they said, I should be able to get one today. And I was like, what? You can get one today? Yes, do it. Go, please. But as it turned out, the place that they wanted to get the axle from was already closed. And then there was one other one. So the axle ended up costing a little bit more, but it still didn't matter because these guys picked up that axle that night, showed back up at 8:30 the next morning and had me back on the road by 1. So literally it was less than 24 hours, give or take, that they had me back on the road. So I was just really happy about that. But still, I dropped off my camper and headed down to LA, and I actually had a ball. Because here's the thing. I've been up for Wasteland builds several times now. I do actually really enjoy showing up and shooting the build crew doing their thing. I put out the build week video the last couple of years, which I'm super proud of. I think it shows off just the passion, commitment, and strife that the build crew go through every year. And of course, TK, the lead photographer, he's kind of felt the same way of just, let's shed a little light on the people that are helping to create this event every year. And so I've really enjoyed doing that. However, this year I did something a little different, which was spend a week down in LA before the event. And it was actually really cool. So while there's an amazing energy up at Build, there's also an amazing energy in the Wastelander community down in the city. It all started out with the very night I got down there, I got an extra invite to go to a Wastelander birthday party. Oh, happy birthday, Omar, by the way. And it was just a bunch of rad Wastelanders and some other kind of alt community people hanging out, and it was just super fun. That was being put on by Captain Bingos, who has not been to Wasteland in 10 years. So we're going to have Captain Bingos on really soon to talk about their experience of having not been to the event in so long and what has changed, because it's a lot. But yeah, so I get to go to that birthday party, super fun, got to connect with some Wastelanders I normally don't. And also, like, during that week, there were several crafting sessions I got to crash. There was one with Shepard and Mercury, there was Domino and the rest of the Fakawi, and then a bunch of us went back to Captain Bingo's place. By the way, Captain Bingo is this amazing puppeteer that I was totally geeking out about because she's done a bunch of work with like Jim Henson and stuff. So really fun stuff. But getting to spend a week down in LA. So I used to live in LA, for those of you guys that don't know. But back then, I don't think the Wastelander community was that connected. I really feel like it really picked up during COVID, maybe. Or maybe I just know the right people who are like super connected now. Maybe people were always hanging out. And now I'm just finally getting the invite because, I'm less behind the scenes and more in front of the scenes. But it was really fun to get to experience it from that angle. And then I still get to go back up to build a little bit early. I went up on Friday. So most tribes are invited on Monday. Some tribes get Sunday access, and a couple of tribes get Saturday. I went back up on Friday so that I could get my personal area built before the rest of the Dukes got up there. So that was really fun. And of course, I got back up there, and like so much had been built. These guys have this down to a science now. Everything's super smooth. It was really, really hot. I mean, for those of you that attended, it was just hot the whole time. So there was a little bit of struggle and a little bit of like, last year went so well. Maybe we were resting on our laurels a touch, but overall it went really well. So yeah, build was great. And then, of course, the Dukes showed up on Saturday evening pretty late. I think they had planned to be there a little bit earlier, so we didn't really get started until Sunday, but it still went well. Let me tell you about... I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and talk about the amazing new merch booth that Valhalla and Mongo had made for us. Well, the Dukes and the Apocalypse Post. They took our little horse trailer, which we use as off-season storage, and turned it into like this little cafe cart with a full like opening window and a little like a flap down table for displaying things. And the merch booth just worked out really well. I had a bunch of Apocalypse Post survivors that offered to run the booth during the event, and that worked out so well. Thank you guys so much. It really helped out. I scheduled a coffee hour every day, and I missed, 3 of them out of 4. Just because it was really easy in the morning to say, you know what, I got so many things to do, and it just passed me by. But I was there Saturday, and anytime I was around the booth, it was great because all sorts of fans, and I hate saying fans because it's just, we're all a community, and I'm a part of the community, and you guys are part of the community, and I'm just making things, but you guys are making awesome things too. So I don't like using fans. But yeah, I got to meet some listeners, some subscribers, some friends of mine from the internet, which was really fun. Sometimes a little overwhelming because, I want to give everyone some time, but I also want to have like really great interpersonal conversations with everybody. So sometimes it was like, oh man, like I want to keep talking, but I see this other person that's been waiting. So I'm sorry, I need to keep moving. Anyway, I loved meeting you guys that stepped up to say hi, and people that come by every year to find me, and I just really appreciate it. And I apologize if our meetings are somewhat short sometimes, but just know that I absolutely love talking to everybody. And let's see. So during build, there's like a huge camaraderie amongst all of the tribes, all the people that are there building. It's all like the most dedicated, involved people that are there during build because they're putting up their camps and they're helping build the event and they're prepping all sorts of stuff. But this one was a really fun build because it was a little extra long, of course. And I did a little bit less like following official build and did a little bit more, helping out the tribe build and visiting my neighbor tribes and seeing what everyone was up to. And one night I was kind of walking around. Where was I? Up behind Skullduggers somewhere, and I heard boom. That was my terrible banjo impression. Hope you don't mind. But I was like, ooh, I know who that is. And I walked over, and lo and behold, it's Tim Cottage, the false prophet of Attack, fiddling around with his new banjo that I had most recently heard was a thing. it was really fun because he was like, do you want to jam? And I was like, why, I sure do. And just a few moments later, I had a guitar in my hand and we were jamming to some songs, and I was teaching him my song Eternally One, which he ended up playing. And I'll get back to that in a little bit. But yeah, we had that jam. And then the next night or 2 nights later, I don't even know anymore because time is the thing. We were jamming like right on Main Street in front of Ward 19. Ethan Bailey, the current mayor, was like, hey, would this sound better with a harmonica? And I was like, well, we're doing bluegrass, so no, but maybe. So that was really fun. But yeah, he went over and got his harmonica, and we just switched from our bluegrass sound to more of like a blues riff kind of a thing. And of course, now we got a banjo playing blues, which somehow worked magically, and we just riffed for a long time. It was a ton of fun. I think Tim and Ethan were having a really great time. So yeah, it was just fun, just jamming with some friends on Main Street before the event even started. It was just so cool. Tuesday night, which I've been, only for me, calling Tribes Night, which is kind of like, preview night. Everyone's build is like getting really close. All the tribes are starting to visit each other, and I think it's kind of a really fun like preview night where some people start serving a couple of drinks, not a whole lot. We're not starting the festival yet. We're just being social and like trying to, calm down a little bit after hard build days. But yeah, it was super fun, and it's always great because you get to see the city basically built, but without all the attendees yet, which is really fun. So yeah, that was a really good time. What else? Let's get into the event. So one of my favorite additions that I made this year was I brought that mini bike, my little Coleman mini bike. What a game changer. Holy crap. Having a vehicle at Wasteland is a game changer. And having a little one like that I can just zip around on really quick without having to, navigate a whole lot of foot traffic and stuff. So like, you can get around on a car, but you got to go even slower, and you got to wait for people to get out in front of you so you don't, run anyone over. But the mini bike, oh man, I was just running around. I had a bunch of deliveries to make from Adam. So I literally strapped a bag to my handlebar and went around and did deliveries. That was super fun. But yeah, it made a huge difference. It cut down my steps probably by half. I could definitely feel the difference late at night with the knees and the back because, oh, what a difference. So yeah, I'm really glad that Wasteland allows us to use vehicles during the day in the city and beyond. It just makes such a difference without having to like do that whole Burning Man, like you got to get a permit thing. It's just so nice. Oh my gosh. So let's go to Wednesday. Wednesday opening was really fun. I got the merch booth open. There wasn't a whole lot of foot traffic in the city because I think one of my things that I think Wasteland should consider changing over time is to move the gate opening back a little bit. 1 o'clock feels early at this point because the line is barely complete, and people need to get in and like have time to make their camps and stuff. I don't know. I think like a sundown gate opening would make more sense. Like leave it open all day. Like the event can start, but leave the gates open all day, and then around sundown, when the pictures would be beautiful, when the tribes would have their lights on and their sound systems going and the stage is about to start, I would say then do the gate opening. But that's just me. At this point, it's tradition to do like a 1 o'clock gate opening. But what I end up experiencing is the gate opens, the parade comes through a couple times, and then everyone goes back and like builds camps and goes and hides from the heat because it's too hot. So yeah, I don't know, Wasteland. Consider a later gate opening on Wednesday. Anyway, Wednesday night, the variety show at Rec Room, where I had my first performance of the event. So Rec Room, if you guys don't know, is this amazing camp that has created a wonderful performance space with a lot of comfortable seating. And the most important part is the water sprayers. They have misting misters. Don't mistake the misting misters for other kind of misters. Anyway, moving on because I don't know where that's going to go. Yeah, so an amazing camp. They do a ton of entertainment, and my first performance was during the variety show where they show off a bunch of like different kind of entertainment you can find throughout Wasteland weekend. There's singing, and there's vaudeville, and there's burlesque, and all sorts of stuff. So I got to do 2 songs. I did my 2 funny-ish songs, which was Tonight I Accidentally Ate a Piece of My Best Friend, Yep, that's a song. And the Dead Raider Jerky Company, and I think it went really well. The crazy thing is, because it's the variety show, like my nerves were on fire. Like, I think I sang both of them in double time, give or take. But that tends to be something I do anyway. So yeah, that went really, really fun. And let's see, my next show was back at the Rec Room Thursday afternoon, 2 to 3:30. I was joined by the Dukes and Luke Band. So we had Mongo on lead guitar, Bullet on bass. Hotshot came up and did backup vocals on Radioactive. And as I mentioned before, Tim Cottage, the false prophet from Attack, brought his banjo up and played lead banjo on Eternally One, which was such a blast. I've wanted to play with Tim for so long, and he joined us on stage after just like playing the song, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times beforehand. Absolutely crushed it, and it definitely sounded exactly how I wanted that song to sound. And as it turns out, that was his very first live performance playing banjo, which, what an honor, for crying out loud. Let's see, Friday we did the show at DXC, which was the Acoustic Cafe. I opened it up with about a half hour of music, and then Ironwise came up. That's Feather Edge and Showdire. That's their band. They came up and did another half hour. We had Cutthroat Reef come up and do maybe about 20 minutes of some of the funniest songs you can ever ask to hear. They are hilarious together. And then we opened it up for an open mic for the rest of the show, and we filled every minute of the time. So we went all the way to 4 o'clock. And I think it was our best Acoustic Cafe yet. And now, I gotta say, my favorite performance this week was actually my show at the Goatheads on Saturday afternoon. I kind of labeled it like a dark comedy set, and I definitely filled it up with all the funnier songs that I have, and, you know, a few of my like dark romance songs. And it was a ton of fun. They put together a great sound system. They invited me to come play, and I was just like, yes, please. And what was really cool about this show, all right, so check it out. When I played at both DXC and Rec Room, there were already some people there, and some people definitely came for the show. But I feel like when I got to Goatheads, that audience was there for me. Like, they weren't there just hanging out. They were there for the show, and I felt the enthusiasm. I spoke to several people that were like, yes, I wanted to see this show. And that just felt really good. So thank you guys for showing up. Not to take away from like Rec Room or the DXC show, but one of the funny things was during the Rec Room show, we had the full band up there. We're kind of high energy during that show, and I'm looking out, and I think 90% of the audience was just there for like the misters to cool off, because it was, no offense to you guys, but holy crap, did you guys just look relaxed and hot. And, you know, a couple of times I had to be like, all right, this is when you guys applaud, because, applaud? Yeah, applaud. Because it was, I could tell everyone just wanted to just like chill. It was hot, and I get that. But at the Goathead show, I felt like, oh my gosh, there was so much enthusiasm and just really cool banter. And the unfortunate thing is, I set up a GoPro to record the damn thing, and it overheated before I even got to my set. So if anyone has any footage of that show, I'd love to see it, because I was having a great time. Oh, also at the Goathead show followed the Wasteland Talk show. So they were doing a really cool like live podcast there, and they were tasting some of the funkiest beers of all time. I forget what, but it was like, basically think of like a Willy Wonka dinner bubblegum thing, because that's kind of what it sounded like. I think there was like a French dip beer. Does not sound appetizing, but people were trying them, and they were giving their live reactions, and it was really fun. And of course, before I left the Goatheads, I finally got to challenge Commander Bacon to a round of foosball. I beat him. But I'm not going to hold it against him. We're going to make this a thing. Every year, Commander Bacon, we are going to play some foosball, because it's my favorite table game. Right across the street from the Goatheads was the Love Bombs, and the Love Bombs have been huge supporters of this show, and just really great to collaborate with. And this year we got to do our first fetch quest together, the Atomic Soda Bomb fetch quest, and it went really well. Like, you guys out there were stealing some soda bombs, taking them back and forth, earning some stickers and some weapons, hopefully. And yeah, it seemed like it went really well. So I was so happy to do that. And fun fact, I got all the soda bombs back. We only had 4, because I only made 4, and somehow they all made it back to me, which is awesome.
In a world where sweetness has gone stale, it's time to ignite your thirst with atomic soda bombs.
Why sip on those sappy love bombs when you can unleash the flavor and fire of atomic soda bombs? With explosive flavors like Newberry Blast and Fallout Fizz, you'll be refreshing your taste buds and lighting up the party. Our drinks don't just quench your thirst, they pack a punch. Need a sip that makes a statement? Atomic soda bombs are exploding with fizz and fire.
Forget those lovey-dovey love bombs, they're too nice for this wasteland.
Love? Nah. Our atomic soda bombs deliver flavor and firepower. No mushy feelings here.
So when you're ready to blast your taste buds and your enemies, grab an atomic soda bomb.
Get yours today and detonate your thirst with atomic soda bombs. I got to judge the guitar contest with Rabbit Asylum this year. They've been trying to get me to be in the guitar contest, but I'm not much of a shredder. However, I know you don't have to shred in order to be in the guitar contest. You just have to go and just play guitar. So I can just go and do some cowboy chords someday. But I didn't get the chance to do that because they asked me to judge for them this year, which was a ton of fun. There were 3 wonderful contestants. I don't remember all their names, but they were great and put on really fun show. And me and the fellow judges got to judge harshly and comedically and with love. And it was just a blast. Super fun. And I'm glad I mean, this was the first time I actually got to see the guitar contest. So I was really happy to just be able to take the time and like sit places and hang out with people this time. Because normally when I'm running the video crew, it's like, oh man, there's somewhere I'm supposed to be. Oh man, I got to go see this. Oh man, I got to get to the next camp. Not this year. This year I got to like just really relax a few times and it was really nice. Which was good because the weather was about as hot as it's ever been. I think the WCC came out and said that this was the hottest year on record for not only like maybe not the hottest day, but the hottest consecutive days or the hottest average or something like that. So it was tough this year, and being able to like find a spot to chill for a little bit, being able to head back to my camper and turn the AC on for a few minutes was definitely a relief. It was wild. It was hot. People were dropping like flies left and right. And if you weren't drinking water constantly and upping your electrolytes, it was a very different event for you. So I hope we all learned a little bit about survival in the desert. Drink more water, have more electrolytes, make sure you eat, and take that downtime. You need some downtime. You got to be able to recover and get in the shade and go hang out at Rec Room and find other ways to stay cool, even if it means laying down in some air conditioning for a little bit. Oh, and then after the event, which the event always goes so fast, doesn't it? It's like, Wednesday, you're like, oh, it's only Wednesday. We got 3 more days of this. And then Thursday, you're like, oh, we're only halfway done. And then Friday, you're like, holy crap, what's happening? And then Saturday, you're like, oh, God, I have so many things I haven't done yet. And there's a little bit of the anxiety. But, one thing I've learned a long time ago is just let go, enjoy the moment, and have a good time. And then Sunday night, after we spent a day of packing up and, helping the tribe break down and doing all the things, we of course did our kind of secret, not so secret photo shoot, which was a ton of fun. We had some new members join this year and just had a blast. So you'll see some of those photos coming out really soon. Spectrum and I, and a couple other people that picked up the cameras from time to time, I think we made some real art. It's, tons of fun. So really excited for you guys to see some of those when they're done. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about not running the video crew. So this was a big year for me as far as taking a step back, realizing, what's important and what direction I want to go in with Wasteland, and being able to take a step back out of the traditions that you feel like you need to keep doing or the expectations other people have on you. I've seen a lot of Wastelanders kind of make this discovery over time is every year you get to kind of decide what you're going to do. And I know that a lot of volunteers get not, I don't want to say sucked in, but they earn more responsibility. And sometimes it just gets to be a little bit too much. So rather than burn out, and I don't just mean volunteers, I mean like with tribe people too, like you build and you build and you build. The Dukes of the Nuke this year, we had half of our normal crew and yet still put up a full camp. Did we need a full camp? Probably not. Were those of us that were part of the build, did we still want to put stuff up and look great and fill in our big spot? Yes, of course we did. We want to provide the best experience we can for all the people that visit our camp. And I think we did that. And we even went full bore on the foobar, which, sorry, F-bombs, I realize now that we may be the second ones to use that name. But at least it's been on a couple of years. You guys weren't there. When you come back, we'll just figure something out. I know you guys were going to maybe call it the original foobar, which would be totally fair. But Duke's foobar went really well. We opened every night for a VIP hour first, and then we opened it up to other friends, and that went really well. Obviously, the merch sales and our barter bazaar went really well as well. Of course, we still had our fire going at night, and people came by to hang out, and so we were, we kind of kept that thing going. But to get back to it, every year, you can make up your mind about how involved you're going to be. And sometimes I have definitely heard about certain Wastelanders who got very involved in a tribe or were leading a tribe versus just being in it and decided to take a step back. And almost universally, the year that they take a step back tends to be a really good one. And I got to say the same. This was a really good year for me as far as not overcommitting to too many things, being able to do more makeshift and Apocalypse Post things. And had I been on the video crew, I there's no way I could have done 5 performances. Oh yeah, I missed Fuck It Fake It Saturday night, joined by Shepherd and Show Pony. We had so much fun. We played along to Uranium Fever, a very quick song, but we put together some really fun last minute choreography and just had a blast with it. And thank you for everyone that showed up, because it's always so fun. That crowd for Fuck It Fake It is always just a blast to perform in front of. But yeah, thank you once again, Rec Room, for making space and having an amazing place to perform just over and over and over again. Back to taking a step back. For me, this was a big year of like letting go of certain traditions. Like just because we've done something last year and it was great doesn't mean we have to do it again, because you always need to be able to make room for the next great thing, right? Some things can just be magical and then be done. We did the Dukes of the Nuke USO show for a few years where we put up our own stage, and then we borrowed the Rec Room stage last year. But just the format of the USO show being like an open mic, but people needed to be really prepared for it, just was a little bit too much. It was a little bit too much for just a few of us to handle on our own. So taking a step back from that and realizing that like the Acoustic Cafe is that same thing, just without as much pressure, and we don't have to build our own stage because the DXC, Forlorn Hope, already has a sound system like ready to go. All they need to do is add a couple of mics for us. Being able to like figure out what I wanted to do this year versus the things that I just felt obligated to do in years past was really great. And I got to spend more time with the people I love, almost obsessively. And it made for a really good event. So don't be afraid to take a year off of things or try taking on less responsibility versus more, because the event will go on, whether we're doing 100% or not. The event will happen. They've gotten really good about get more volunteers, not less doing more. So anyway, just some thoughts on that. Let's see. What else do I got here? I got a few best ofs to share. First up, best cocktail. These are completely random. I just kind of threw them together just for fun. And I probably am missing some things. So grain of salt. But best cocktail goes to Schofield's Drifters for their mule, which is always great. It's I always make sure to go get a mule from Doc every year. I don't know what makes it so damn special, but I do know he requests very particular ginger beers, so maybe that's what the difference is. And a runner-up to the Rabid Radstag for best cocktail for what might be the best gin and tonic I've ever had. I know it's such a simple cocktail, but for some reason it was extra special this time. The best gift I received goes to Trench for the amazing vest that him and his tribe gave me. Plus, it was so great to meet you guys face to face after so long. And for those of you that don't know who Trench is, he was the voice of Casper in the Legend of the Wasteland City story, The Ones Who Came Before. So, and also I got to be there when Trench met Casper face to face, and I got to hear both of their voices. They're not like the same, but they're similar enough that I feel like, yeah, it's like that Spider-Man thing where they're all pointing at each other, except it didn't happen like that at all. Let's see. Best comeback goes to my tribe mate, Major Woody, who earned his major this year because he did something. I don't know what. But yeah, Woody. He had to miss the last few events, but came back with a vengeance this year. He really stepped up to help out the tribe, and he was doing a ton of volunteering for like my stuff. He tended bar during our show at the rec room, and just generally was just a kick-ass, amazing tribe mate. Good job, Woody. Well done. And the best Wasteland event so far goes to this year because it only just keeps getting better and better. And now if Wasteland could only just add on a couple more days. I mean, I'm already up there for like 2 weeks, but now I want the actual event to be longer. Like, I think it's about time to go Monday to Sunday. You heard it here first, folks. It's time. Of course, it's probably not going to happen. Wednesday to Sunday is plenty, I'm sure, for the event. But wouldn't it be nice if we got to just, spend a couple more days up there in the post-apocalypse pretending it's the end of the world? Which, by the way, there's been some crazy, crazy real-world news as we left Wasteland weekend. Of course, the Middle East stuff is explosive as always. We had Hurricane Helene, which has just absolutely devastated huge swaths of the Southeast. My parents live in East Tennessee, and they largely were untouched, but some of the neighborhoods near them, like their favorite pizza spot, was under 2 feet of water. A house that they drive by probably 3 or 5 times a week is half in the river. A bridge that they had crossed the day of the hurricane was gone a couple hours after they drove over it. Luckily, a lot of the stuff in East Tennessee near them is fine. Just it's a little bit like pinpointed in certain areas. A lot of places had water and then lost it really quick. But here's the thing. North Carolina got hit really hard. And I've talked about on this show about how the post-apocalypse, like a worldwide post-apocalypse, is very unlikely to happen, which is partly why it's fun to play with the idea. But apocalypses happen all the time. Asheville, North Carolina. South Carolina? Asheville, Carolina is absolutely devastated. There are entire neighborhoods that are just gone. There's entire riverside communities where there is nothing left except mud and garbage. It's absolutely insane. I got to say, there's a lot of people stepping up to help. And obviously, the tools are there to make things happen. I was just talking to some people yesterday, and they were already citing every conspiracy theory in the world. But a very quick Google search said that things are progressing kind of as expected. There's rescues happening. Like, no one's controlling the weather yet. So when you hear stuff like that, make sure you take it with a grain of salt. And I don't want to say do your own research, because none of us are doing our own research. We're on the internet just reading articles, but trust the people that are actually doing the real research. Like there are trusted places to find information, and Facebook is generally not one of them, nor is Instagram, nor is Twitter, which Twitter used to be a great place to find, like not cutting edge, like news from the source. But people are using all the social media platforms to spread misinformation. So just make sure that, you're doing your due diligence. Be smart. Use critical thinking. If someone says someone's probably controlling the weather and sent a hurricane to the middle of the country, well, that's probably not the case. So unless you have any evidence to point towards something like that, probably just let it go, because Occam's razor is very sharp, and you can always trust that the simplest solution is often the correct one, which is just, hey, we've been talking about climate change for the last almost 100 years now, and how it's going to affect weather patterns. And we've seen the weather patterns shift year after year after year. The earth gets hotter a fraction of a degree year over year. Rainfalls shift over time. We've seen Tornado Alley actually move from where it was to where it is now. Like you can actually see things change. When we look at, ice in the Arctic and Antarctic and how it's just diminishing over time. Storms are getting bigger, rainfall's changing, things are getting hotter. Like this is a pattern that is well documented scientifically that we can always look back on. Also, man, it sucks that there's so many wars going on right now that don't seem to have an end in sight and only seem to be getting worse. So make sure you stay safe and, travel wisely. I don't know what else to say about that, except going back to how apocalypses happen all the time, just in certain areas at once. And it's the fact that something can happen in one place and then everyone from the unaffected areas can reach out to help. That's what makes it so that we don't fall into a larger apocalypse. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because even with like the Wasteland lore, each tribe gets to make up their own backstory. And so, yeah, while like a Mad Max, like post-nuclear war future is a big one there, tribes can kind of make up their own stories as well. There could be famine, there could be disease, there could be giggle shakers. Actually, no, there can't be giggle shakers. But yeah, I think, a global apocalypse kind of happens more like that. Like if this war in the Middle East grows, if it becomes more than just a proxy war, and I'm not just talking about like the Israel versus everybody thing or the Ukraine versus Russia, but like if it becomes bigger than that, if more people get involved, if the United States somehow like gets called into one of these wars, things could get really bad really fast. And I don't know where I'm going with all this, but it's just really weird when you leave Wasteland and then you start hearing about all this stuff. I remember it was a couple years ago. It was actually the year that Adam retired when Russia invaded Ukraine. And I made the realization of like, yeah, nuclear weapons are on the table. Like Russia is a huge nuclear power. And then, of course, so are we. There's thousands of nuclear weapons around the world that could be deployed at any time. And I'm not trying to scare you guys. I'm just trying to wax poetic about leaving this fake apocalypse to see all the hints of a real one looming on the horizon and yet still remaining hopeful. Like we will bounce back from the hurricanes. And even as I'm recording this, the next hurricane is going to hit Florida as a Category 5 potentially. So that's going to be bad. But there's always hope. There's always wonderful humans ready to help. And I think as long as the helpers outnumber the ones that are like, let me get my gun and raid and just take things and stuff, I think we'll do just fine. And that's one of the things that Wasteland Weekend always reminds us is we are in this together. There's always someone to help. And though we may play fight, we've got nothing but love for each other. All right. Well, I'm going to end it there before this gets too real. But thank you guys for listening along and being interested in my travels and experiences. This show has been really fun to produce as we kind of, I don't know, is this sunsetting a season? Is it Wasteland to Wasteland? I don't know. But I got more Legends of Wasteland City coming. I just need to, find some time again and dive back in. I got 2 episodes left of Don't Stop Shooting, and I've got other stories to get into as well. But I'm going to try to keep up this side of the show as well. I've got interviews coming with some Wastelanders, and we're going to find out what it's like to have missed Wasteland for 10 years and then come back. I want to get some perspective from first-timers. We've got some more Patch of the Month sponsors coming up that'll be on the show to talk about what they're up to. And just in general, we got a lot of things going on. So I appreciate you guys so much. If you want to help support this channel, which means these podcasts, it means Legends of Wasteland City, it means video content on YouTube, it means makeshift music, my original songs and stuff. You can always join our Patreon at patreon.com/theapocalypsepost. It really helps when you guys jump on there. And of course, if you join in at the $10 mark and above, you are automatically a part of the Patch of the Month Club, and you'll get a patch designed from the Wasteland community or the Apocalypse Post delivered to your mailbox every month. Speaking of which, I need to get the ones for this month sent out. So that'll probably be what I do tonight. So next month, the patch of the month is going to be a beautiful, really well-designed Squirrel Squad patch. It's this adorable armed squirrel. And this one's coming from Skirbo of the Bombers. So super excited that we're finally getting to this one. Skirbo, I'm sorry it took so long. I was trying to figure out the right month for everything, and November just fit. So anyway, if you want to get this adorable little war squirrel in the mail next month, you got to sign up for the Patreon by the end of October. All right? And then you will be automatically brought in. And then I got one for December as well. I need more sponsors, guys. If you want to sponsor a patch of the month, please get in touch with me. We're starting to fill out all of 2025 with brand new patches. We're going to keep this program going because it's been really great. The Patreon has more than doubled in membership and earnings that help support this show since we started it, which is absolutely incredible. Like, this year has been amazing for the support that you guys have sent in, and I want to keep it going. So we need some sponsors for 2025, and don't forget, you don't have to send in the patches. All I need is your design, and that will count. I have no problem getting them printed because I've got a pretty good source for them. So yeah, that's it. All right, guys, time to wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening. Leave a comment or review if you can. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your very good friends. If you hated it, share it with your enemies. And send along an atomic soda bomb. And make sure to shake it up real nice for those dirty SOBs. All right, I'll see you next time, survivors. Till then, stay alive.